Hi, I'm Rsaal and welcome to the political rundown of 2020. In January, newly elected Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who promised to take back control of our country, began his term in office by allowing our foreign policy regarding Iran to be dictated by the Trump White House following the assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani and a threat of retaliation. Protests took place across the world, including in London, creating an atmosphere eerily similar to that of February 2003, although thankfully no war actually took place. In February of 2020, the Democratic presidential primaries took off in the US, with the first contest being in Iowa. Centrist candidate Pete Buttigieg claimed victory long before the vote was completed. That does remind me of someone. Anyway, he ended up winning the caucus, despite progressive candidate Bernie Sanders winning the popular vote by quite a margin. In March, coronavirus struck the world, and lockdowns began across the globe, some later than others, as we all know. There were countries like New Zealand, Cuba and Vietnam, which prioritised human life over the economy with swift and strict lockdown measures, leading to fewer cases and fewer deaths. And then there were countries like Pakistan, the USA and the UK, in which, the ruling classes unanimously decided to sacrifice our grandmas to the red line. The economy, that is. In April, Keir Starmer was elected leader of the UK Labour Party on a platform of unity and integrity. That pause was to allow you to laugh for a moment. Nevertheless, Starmer began his time as Labour leader by forensically questioning the Tory government on a few of their innumerable lies and equivocations, whilst also agreeing with every other thing they said. More on that later. Bernie Sanders dropped out of the presidential race, leaving former Vice President Joe Biden to be the presumptive Democratic nominee. In June, the Chinese government passed the controversial Hong Kong national security law, allowing Beijing to easily crack down on dissent. In July, the Twitter accounts of prominent politicians and CEOs, including Joe Biden and Elon Musk, were hacked to promote a Bitcoin scam. In August, with Parliament in recess, it was normally the height of Britain's silly season, with all sorts of celebrity gossip featuring in the news, but nothing much of value going on. This year, however, was different, with the Education Secretary, Gavin Williamson, approving a last-minute faulty algorithm to give A-level and GCSE students their grades, which basically meant that the 5 to 8% of students who are privately educated all got massive boosts in their grades, whereas the rest of us mere plebs were downgraded. This was what they rectified for GCSE students who received their grades based on the judgment of teachers and heads of department. You'd think that schools being shut in March, the government would have had adequate time to figure out a fair system of grading, and that's probably why they didn't do it. Why would the Tories and the cabinet of billionaires, 90% of whom are privately educated, care about equality of opportunity? Besides, if something is disliked by the public, you can just blame it on the civil servants, so who cares? In September, schools reopened. COVID cases, as both Starmer and Johnson will love to tell you, increased around this time for reasons definitely not related to thousands of children being in tight spaces. In October, the first election in Bolivia since the US-backed coup against Evo Morales saw a landslide victory for the party he once led, the Movement for Socialism, with the new leader and former cabinet minister Louis Arce being elected president. A general election in New Zealand saw a landslide victory of the Labour Party against the Thatcherite-led National Party, with Jacinda Ardern being re-elected Prime Minister. Meanwhile, in the UK Labour Party, former leader Jeremy Corbyn was suspended on grounds of for undermining the Equality and Human Rights Commission's report. No, for breaking party rules? No? Well, he was suspended. In all seriousness, I cannot explain the nuances of this in this short video without doing the topic justice, so I would encourage you all to read Mr. Corbyn's actual response on Facebook and to make up your own mind as to whether or not it was inappropriate. In November, Joe Biden defeated incumbent Republican President Donald Trump, and the world took a huge sigh of relief as the reins of the United States passed from a corporate war criminal to a corporate war criminal. In December, the Pfizer COVID vaccine began rolling out in the UK, beginning the outbreak of a new, perhaps even deadlier disease called the coronavirus. Symptoms are debilitating levels of delusion and paranoia. And that's all from me.